All right, welcome to the fourth video, the impressions vid of the week. This never gets any less awkward. Damn you, early access. Anyway, up this time is Hexters, a unique procedurally generated city building strategy / action game with single player campaign story inspired by Tron, Darwinia, Anno, Settlers, etc. I'm like, right. So that is an accurate enough description of what Hexters is. It is a city building strategy game. Like, when they say action, they mean real time.
Mm.
Like, you're in the god mode. You are whatever floating entity, and you order your robot followers to build stuff for various reasons. And trying to think here. And yeah, the main campaign mode is I'm not sure how comparable it is to, say, Settlers or Anno. Honestly, I never got into those games. Darwinia is a game I keep meaning to play, but I think that's more of a real-time strategy game than a city builder. It's like, I tend to default more to, Sim City, City Skyline, Tropico.
Mm-hmm. The casual ones.
Yeah. I'm like, along those lines, at least, the main mode is basically scenario mode. Though, if you did notice on the main menu, there is a free play. I'll admit I didn't really explore the free play option, so I don't know how robust that is. A bit of a failing there, but these were impressions, not a proper review. And my impressions of this game is it's a very competent city builder. I'm like, that doesn't have as much personality as it thinks it does. Like, maybe a bit weird to say, but you might notice all the quirky robots.
Mm-hmm. The first island I'm on is called Bios Beach.
Right. So clearly it's going for a bit of a personality. Like, it's surprisingly reserved. Like, that's actually good in a lot of ways. Like, it's not cracking jokes about computers every 5 fucking seconds.
Mm-hmm. Aren't which computers is a quirky? Yes, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a route they could have very well gone down. But it's also, it's not on the dry side of things. Like, it's not capitalism or something like that. Or even as dry as, say, civilization can be. I know that does depend on the civilization. I'm thinking more of the earlier ones, where they didn't have enough space to have, like, your advisors be literal famous historical figures.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and your goals are not necessarily that grandiose. Anyway, in terms of, like, the actual city building, it's very pared down, at least in the scenario mode. Which makes sense, because the goal here isn't to make the biggest city possible or get a certain population or colonize space. At least not in the first couple levels. Like, I wouldn't put it past this game to have colonize space, like, or, in this case, colonize the internet as a goal.
Mm.
If not in the game, then maybe added to it at some point. Anyway, with that in mind, its building mechanics are really weird. Like, in that they're kind of an inverse real-time strategy thing going on here. Because, you see, like, on the footage on screen, like, Petty is building the survey station, if I'm remembering correctly, which allows you to see further out. But, you see what the robots are doing. Like, they're bringing the physical materials to the location. And once enough materials are there, it'll form into a building. Which, once again, that's kind of like how you resource gather in a real-time strategy game, except the other way around. Like, though that element is in this game, like, you see those hexagons? Yep, it's highlighting them now. That's your major resource. And you send out robots to extract hex material. I forget what they call them exactly.
Bits, it looks like.
Yeah, bits. That's right.
Because, computers.
Yeah. Like I said, this game isn't free from quirkiness by any means. Because the bits are your basic building block, and guess what you refine them into?
Bytes.
Yes.
Do I get a gold star?
I'm like, you'll get a gold star if you can guess what they refine bytes into.
Nibbles? Nibbles?
No.
Oh, we're not going that deep into the weeds?
That's the other direction.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
The nibble is a half byte.
Yeah. No, you refine bytes into triangles. I'm not
okay, I can get the logic.
For making polygons?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
But it's still a weird turn. Because, you're working on... That's different terminology entirely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can get their logic, because, polygons and stuff like that, but it's still a weird bend.
Yeah. Because you'd expecting, like, megabytes.
Yes.
But no, it's triangles. And you will have to build the requisite refineries and make sure that they're hooked up to the electrical grid. Thankfully, this game doesn't have as much management as, the later SimCity games have. Like, you just have to worry about making sure it's connected to the electric grid and there's enough juice flowing, as opposed to, making sure there's electricity, water, streets, all that business. So it's not super elaborate in its city building.
The bits must flow.
Side.
I wonder where they got that reference from. Everything references back to Dune.
Not really. Like, Dune is not as...
At least in sci-fi, it seems.
Well, yeah. But it's a bit unusual to have Dune in something that's this computer-oriented.
Yeah.
You'd expect something more Isaac Asimov or Blade Runner, Three Laws of Robotics.
Maybe get a little spicy
et
and bring some Alexander Turing in here.
Yeah. But like I said, beneath the veneer of all of the computer terminology and quirkiness, you can see it is, at its heart, a fairly conventional and fairly reserved city builder. I'm going to presume that's because this is being handled by a smallish team. And, for right now, your job is to get to have a certain amount of buildings built, have a certain amount of hexters built, and, manage your resources. Now, I got as far as about the end of the second area where they kind of flipped the script. So at the end of this stage, everything blows up or gets caught in a data cyclone or something like that. Mm-hmm. And next time you have to survive without the resource mining for a good chunk of time. And you do that by destroying a lot of buildings. It's there to teach you the mechanics of harvesting resources from discarded buildings. Half of what you would get into it. Mm-hmm. But since you didn't build them, that's your resource at the start of things. But you still do the same things. Like you build out. The part I got caught up is I had to find an actual exit to the stage. And I wasn't finding the exit. And, you can still do the building things, but, and I've encountered this in other city builders. Once you reach a certain point, things get fairly automatic or less interesting. Because it's like, you built all the buildings, and now you're at the point where you're just building more of it. And since this is this is scenario mode, that's not your main focus. Like, that's that works better in the free play because that's a goal you would set for yourself. And honestly, that's about all I got in terms of describing the game. And how it's all put together is, fairly solid. It's not something that would ever get me to replace SimCity or Tropico or, any of the heavy duty city builders out there. Mm-hmm. But for what it's going for, it's fine. And as an early access build, it's rock solid. I mean, hell, it was a lot more stable than the fully released game I reviewed this week. The concerns about early access here, though, are related to the development time. Because this game's been in early access a long, long time. According to Steam, this saw release in very late 2017. And looking at the Steam early access notes for the game, they might want to update their page if they ever watch this review. According to their estimate is leaving early access in 2020. Clearly, that didn't happen. It's not surprising that of all years that didn't happen, it's 2020. But it's now 2024, and the game is, apparently still being worked on. Like they pushed out a new build fairly recently, so the game is still being worked on. It's just, it's hard to say where it is in actual early access because, once again, going by the notes, it says it had currently it has 8 levels completely playable with all features in them and no placeholder access. It's got apparently 75% of the full story. I'm like, but they also want to add new levels, more characters, new types of enemies and defenses, environmental hazards, and more storytelling. Yeah, that quarter left is taking an Ice Age to get into the game. So it's hard to tell what the actual targets are here, given that everything on the Steam page is woefully out of date. On the plus side of things, the investment is locked into stone, or at least according to what's here on the page, because the game is $20 and will not increase when it reaches 1.0, whatever day that might be. Now, as far as if this game is worth $20, as a city builder, I'd say that mostly aligns. Though if I'm being honest, this game feels a bit too basic for that price point. I think 15 would have been better. I don't know. Petty, you've been playing the game. Where do your thoughts lie on Hexters?
Yeah, it's it's a game.
Mm.
It is the game of gaming.
Computer gaming.
Yes.
Anyway, like I said, it's a solid enough effort. Mm-hmm. It's just I'm a bit wary about their communication skills here.
Right.
So, bit of a buyer beware on that level, but at the very least, the core of what is available is rock solid. It's just, that's the risk you take with early access. Right. Like, this game may never reach its 1.0 designation.
Then again, it could reach it next week. We have no idea.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, a very cautious recommendation at this point in time. So, with that in mind, that brings us to the end of this review session, and indeed, that wraps up the reviews for the season. So, speaking of which, the week ahead. Once again, there is no MSP. It is on break. And since this is the final review session, that means we are approaching the season finale. In a bit of an unusual turn, we have a two-part season finale, as in we have a Friday show. This wasn't planned, but it's more, this is where this particular interview landed, and it's too important for me to be regular about it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, coming on Wednesday, May 8th, we'll be having Andy Cargyle of Bad Zombie Games. Glancing at their Steam, their web page, it looks like they are the developers of a lot of mobile titles, such as the long-running Monsters vs. Factions. Apparently, there's at least 5 installments here. Last Kids on Earth Hit the Deck. Okay. Of all franchises to do a deck builder around, that's an interesting one.
I've seen crazier, but
I've actually watched The Last Kids on Earth. And currently they are not they're still the game is out, but they're still working on it. In fact, they just recently put out a 1.5 edition of Castaway Station. which is an exciting survival game that takes you on an unintended journey on a hostile planet after a catastrophic accident on your space cruiser, stranded on an unknown planet with limited resources, and it goes on like this. Like, but the big event is going to be on Friday. On Friday, May 10th, we'll be ending the season, hopefully, because this interview has been in the works for months.
Yeah.
Literal months. It's been a task locking it down, but it looks like we're finally going to be interviewing Elena Alambegi. I probably horribly butchered that, but we'll get a proper pronunciation on Friday. She will be representing limited run games.
And if we need to explain to you limited run games, you need to go seek help.
I was about to say, do I really have to go over their resume?
Spoilers, we'll be adding another hour to the runtime of this show.
Yeah. I'm like, they've worked on a lot of stuff. And they've got quite a bit coming. Like a bunch of games from Konami. Clock Tower Rewind. Hell, there's a bunch of stuff they announced from a while ago, like the Gex trilogy and the Tomba games.
How do I play for
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, you're not bereft of options.
No, I'm not. I love Gex. I love Rocket Knight.
Yeah, I'm like, but and they're also doing regular indie business. Like they got a pre-order up for Rogue Legacy 2 right now, among others.
Oh man.
And a game we've covered on the program, Save Me Mr. Taco Definitive Edition, is getting a retail release on the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4.
I think it's 4 and 5 compatible.
Right, but the actual box is saying PlayStation 4. This is physical.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm presuming we are going to have a lot to talk about on that day. So with that in mind, until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.